Hi everyone and welcome to our next coffee chat. My name is Gail Brown and I'm the literacy half of Learn and Grow, and today it's about numeracy, and Linnell is going to take us away with her case study about a student and learning to work with parents around numeracy teaching. So over to you, Linnell, to introduce the session.
Thanks, Gail. Yep, I'm Linnell, and let's jump right into it. I'm going to share the screen with you, and we want to look at how we can communicate to our students about what it means to be good at maths, and also to our parents. So I'm going to share you a story about a student we'll call Charlene, and she enjoyed maths. She was in year 1. And she had parents who really wanted her to do well in maths, and they were eager, and Charlene was eager. She was in year 1 and counting way past 100. If you know your Australian curriculum, you only have to count to 100.
Yeah.
She was way past that, and her parents were proud of that ability, and they'd even taught her this vertical algorithm that I put on the screen. And that's something that as teachers you may come across, is that your students are being taught beyond what your curriculum expectations are. And as a teacher, you might sort of not know how to handle this. And the teacher was actually concerned about this, because vertical algorithms are not taught in the Australian curriculum until year 3. And there's a reason for that. And I'll explain the concerns and you'll understand. Charlene, yes, she could count high. Yes, she'd learned how to do this, column 1, 4 plus 3 equals 7, and 3 plus 1 equals 4. See, vertical algorithms actually only require an understanding of 1-digit addition. So you really could get away with doing some of these with just being able to do some counting up to 10. Anyway, Charlene's problem was she didn't understand all of what she was doing. She could count high, but she didn't know what the count meant. She couldn't tell you what 31 was. She didn't understand that 31 was 3 groups of 10 and 1 more.
So question for you, Linnell, could she get out some concrete materials for 31 to show that, in terms of 3 10 blocks and a single 1, or not? She
couldn't.
Okay, so that's surface learning.
That's right. So she didn't have an understanding of what this number 31 meant. And she was just as 31 and 13 to her were pretty much the same number. They had a 3 and they had a 1. So the place value of the digits meant nothing to her. So
the idea of units of 10 was not something that she understood at all.
At all. Okay.
So that's really interesting, isn't it?
So you can see how, from a parent's point of view, it looked like Charlene was blossoming. She could count really high, and she could even do these vertical algorithms with 34 plus 13 and come up with 47.
But if she had a vertical algorithm like that required any trading, she would be totally stumped. So if it was 34 plus 18, she would probably go 8 plus 4 is 12, but she wouldn't know where to put the 12. She'd probably put 12 where the 7 was.
She may well have. She could have probably followed a procedure and put the 1 up there, and again added the 1 and the 3 and the 1. But it didn't mean anything to her.
Yeah.
And therefore, and in that situation, when you actually make a mistake with your procedure and you come up with an outrageous answer,
you don't
understand what's going on, and you haven't got number sense, you don't even notice that you've got an outrageous answer because you followed the procedure or the strategy.
So there's research about this that says sometimes we don't know what we don't know. All of us.
Exactly. And she didn't know.
Yeah.
And her parents didn't know.
Yeah.
So there was two issues here for the teacher. One was to improve Charlene's number sense so that she actually understood what counting meant and what the place value of digits meant, and that 13 is a smaller number than 31, and how they related to each other, etc. Mm-hmm. But she also needed to help the parents to understand what was going on and gain their support, because they were feeling pretty miffed that their child was coming home, still only needing to count to 30 and still playing around with these little numbers, and they didn't understand, and they weren't happy about it.
So it was really about the teacher getting some communication going with the parents around this understanding.
Yeah, and that can be quite confronting, for us as teachers, to have a parent, coming in going, why aren't you, my child's so much better than this, and you're not teaching them to their ability. You have to be in a place as a teacher where you can prove that you know where the child is at. You actually have to gather some evidence of where the child is, so that you can relay that to the parents. Pardon me. You also need to know why you're teaching what you're teaching and how you're teaching, and you need to have the background knowledge of what's good teaching practice, what's a good progression of skills in maths, and be able to firmly but kindly explain yourself. And that's okay that you need to do that. We've got to remember as teachers that, generally speaking, the parents haven't gone through the training that we've gone through. And they don't know our curriculums, they don't know pedagogy, and they're only coming at an angle of, maybe it was how they were taught maths or what they perceive it means to be good at maths.
Exactly.
And you actually have to unpack that. And I know with working with this parent, with this teacher, she was able to say to me how great it was that she actually understood the research of what it means to teach maths well, and what it means for a student to learn maths well.
Yeah.
So this is what she did. She gathered her evidence. You've got to prepare yourself for these meetings. And she was able to show formal results and say to the child's parents, and this is what she did next. She had a meeting with them.
Yeah.
And was able to show them, look, this is the data. Do you agree with that? And the father actually said, yes, I realise she doesn't know the difference between 13 and 31. He'd seen himself. So then it was the case of, well, let's work together. And look, it's so important to have parents on side.
Yeah. It's about getting some agreement as to where the child is at.
Yeah.
That consensus in understanding, that shared understanding, is so important.
Yeah. And there's a lot of research around what a difference parental involvement makes to student learning outcomes. Really does make a difference. So we want to be able to, if we've got enthusiastic parents who want to help their kids, then let's give them some ways to help their kids.
Yep.
So setting some clear homework goals with some activities that go with it.
Yep.
You can actually make checklists of those. And so for those who are in our Learn and Grow group, I can actually share samples of those with you that you could modify for the students in your classes to share with parents. And this teacher also continued to explicitly teach number sense with the whole class.
Yep.
The results?
Yep.
Happy parents, because they understand. Mm-hmm. It's like, now we're in this together, as you said. Let's get everybody on side.
Yep.
They understood. It's nice for the parents to realise that the teacher understands their child. I've always found if I can show parents some data, some results that show progress, that's always encouraging. And to say, look, I do know your child. I can show you where they're at. That's all. It's really helpful to be prepared for those meetings.
Yeah, and to not pretend to have all the answers, but to say this is the next little step and we'll see how that goes, and then keep that communication going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the student is relieved because suddenly everybody's on the same page. Everybody's talking the same language.
We know that anxiety affects learning. If you're anxious about something, you're worried about it, and so you're not attending to what you should be learning. And that happens for teachers and parents. It happens for all of us.
Yeah. And so it's much better when our parents of the kids are talking the same jargon, if you like.
Language.
It's the language of our language of maths is the same as the parents' language of maths. That helps the kids to go, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And of course, that does result in improvements. And in this particular case, it was improvements in number sense.
Yeah.
So as I said, if you are part of our Learn and Grow group, you can reach out and ask me for some of the examples of homework goals and I-CAN statements that you may like to modify and have some conversations with your parents about. And also reach out if you would like some of the links to the research around parental support.
Yep.
So we look forward to talking to you more about it. And thanks for being part of Cuppa Chat today.
Yeah. Thanks, Lynelle. Yeah. Thanks for, sort of really making something clear about communicating with parents and getting their support, because that's really the same for both literacy and numeracy. It really is important. Yeah. So thanks.